Okay, this is perhaps one of the more perplexing topics that you will do this year. However, if you follow a simple rule, it can actually be rather or relatively straightforward, okay, and not cause too much confusion. Now, there have been a few occasions in this unit where I've said you will need to learn this off by heart. This here is one of those occasions. This table here, you will need to learn that off by heart. And the reason why you're going to have to is it's going to guide you through all the questions that we're going to do within this topic of adding and subtracting negative numbers. So let's have a look. Here I have 4 separate questions, okay? These questions are probably harder than these questions. Basically, what I want you to think about it when we add and subtract negative numbers is we have a starting point. Your first number is your first starting point on the number line, which is 6 in this instance. So we're starting at the number 6 on the number line. Then we have an operation, okay? And then we have a digit. Now, sometimes the digit may be a negative number also, okay? But your first digit is always where you start on the number line. So with the first one, we're starting with 6, okay? And we're adding a positive number, all right? So we come over here to our table, we look here and it says plus a positive number. And the reason why I put 1s in here is because it's simple, okay? Obviously, when we're looking at this, it's plus 3. So we would just imagine that that 1 is a 3. And then the direction tells you which way you need to move on the number line. So when we add a positive number, we move right. That's something you've been doing for years. This isn't a hard question. 6 plus 3 is something you've been doing for a very long time. Let's not confuse that. However, it's important that we understand why we use this. So 6 plus 3, we move 3 places right on the number line, which takes us to 9, okay? Now here, we're adding a negative number. So we're adding a negative number. And over here, when we add a negative number, we move left on the number line. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, oh my goodness, I don't understand that, okay? And that's fine. And we'll talk about some strategies within class of ways for you to get your head around that. But for the moment, it's better if you just remember the rules, okay? And if you look at this and you say, okay, when I add a negative, I move left. Don't think about why, don't really question it. For the moment, we will get to that. But at the moment, concentrate on the rules. I'm adding a negative number, I have to move left on the number line. So 1, 2, 3 places left on the number line takes me to 3, okay? 6 take 3. Also, when I take away a positive number, I move left on the number line as well. So 1, 2, 3. It also takes me to 3, okay? Now, you will notice that when you add a negative and when you take away a positive, you get the same result. And it's exactly the same with when you take away a negative. So here, when I take away a negative number, I have to move right on the number line. So that means that I need to move by 3 places, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to end up at 9, just like my first one up here. Now, once again, you may be thinking, oh, but why? Why do we move that way? Why? Don't worry about that at the moment. Focus on the rules, okay? When you see, when we subtract a negative number, okay, we move right on the number line, okay? One of the things that I don't want you to say is 2 negatives equal a positive, okay? Because that's not correct. In this one here, I have 2 negative signs, but doesn't necessarily equal a positive. Likewise, I can have a question that looks like this. Negative 6, take away 6, I've got 2 negatives, okay? Yet my answer for that, when I take away a negative, I move left on the number line and I end up at negative 12, okay? When I have a negative operation, so a subtraction sign, and also a negative number, then it equals a positive, okay? So if I do this and I make that a negative number, and I go 6, take away a negative 6, then I move right on the number line and I end up at 0, okay? I've probably said too much there. I want you to focus on the rules. We'll go back to the rules, we'll look at the rules, okay, and just continue to think about your starting position on the number line. So in this instance, we're starting at 14, okay? So I'm starting at 14, and then we look at the next two parts of our expression. And I've got an addition and a negative number. So I come over here, okay, where's my addition and negative number? Here it is. Addition and negative number, I've got to move left on the number line. So that means I've got to move that way by 15 places, okay? So when I move 15 places that way, I'm going to get all the way to 0, okay? Because it's only 14 spots until I get to 0. Let's say 0 is here, okay? And I've got to move 15 spots, okay? So that's my 15 spots. I move 14 spots here to get to 0, and then obviously I end at -1, okay? Here, I'm starting at -6, all right? So all of a sudden, I'm starting at -6, okay? And I'm taking away a negative number. So once again, go back to your rules. When you take away a negative number, I move right. Okay, so that means I've got to move right by 8 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I end at +2. Okay, so when you're shifting on the number line and 0 is in between that shift, it's quite tricky. Okay, and that's where using a number line in order to work these out and referring back to your rules is really going to help you. Okay, here I'm starting at 3 on the number line. Okay, and I'm adding a negative. So let's come back over here. Adding a negative means I move left. Okay, and I've got to move left by 7 places. So I go 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, I've moved 1, 2, 3 places. I have to move 7 places, so that means I've still got to move another 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So -2, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, my answer for that is -4. You will notice that the negative numbers are put in brackets, and the reason why the negative numbers are put in brackets is to try and not confuse you. In our textbook, it doesn't put the very first number, if it's a negative number, in brackets, which is kind of confusing in itself. But the first digit of an operation may just be represented as a negative number like that. But any digit continuing in an expression that is a negative, the textbook will put it into a bracket. Some people don't use brackets at all for negative numbers, and that's fine. You could just have -6, and then take away -8. It means exactly the same thing. We use the bracket there though to try and make it less confusing. So this one here, -9, and we're taking away 7. So we come over here, okay, I'm taking away 7. Is it a -7? No, it's not a negative, so it's just this one here. So that means I have to move left by 7 places. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and here I'm at -9, and I go -10, -11, -12, -13, -14, 15, 16. So -16 is my answer. You will need to do a lot of practice on this. Okay, you will need to continue to refer back to your set of rules. Okay, and you will need to use your number lines. Remember, the first digit is where you start on the number line, okay? And then we look at this part of the expression, and that tells you which direction you need to move on the number line. And we refer back to our rules, which you are going to learn off by heart, in order to remember which direction we move. When you're crossing 0, it can be really helpful for you to use a number line. Okay, so I'd strongly suggest that you consider using number lines until you've got it, okay? And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much adding and subtracting negative numbers. So remember this, and good luck. Get as much practice as you can. Ask as many questions as you can, because it will take a while to digest this topic. Good luck.